The bait shack ban. The lake shimmered under the afternoon sun as I hauled my fishing gear toward my small wooden shed. My peaceful getaway spot. It wasn't much, just a 10 by 10 structure with a slanted roof, a cooler, and a rack full of bait jars. To me, it was paradise. To Karen, the head of the HOA, it was a community violation. Karen's SUV pulled up right as I unlocked the door. I could practically hear her clipboard clicking from 50 feet away. "Mr. Dawson," she called out, stepping onto my property like she owned it. "This shed violates Article 4C of our neighborhood's property guidelines. No external structures within 50 feet of shared lakefront land." I sighed, wiping my hands on my jeans. "Karen, it's been here for 3 years. Everyone knows it's just for fishing. Nobody else cares." Her eyes narrowed. "Rules are rules. You'll have 48 hours to remove it or face fines." That was classic. HOA Karen, self-appointed guardian of the neighborhood's aesthetic harmony. She'd already banned backyard fire pits, solar lights, and even a kid's lemonade stand once. This shed was her next trophy. I tried reasoning with the HOA board, but Karen's voice dominated every meeting. They ruled in her favor. My shed was unauthorized construction on HOA-maintained land, so I tore it down, at least the outside. But something about the smug way she smiled when she handed me the notice lit a fire in me. That night, I sat at my kitchen table, staring at the empty spot by the lake. Then I saw the words again, HOA-maintained land. An idea began forming. If the HOA technically owned that land, but it was community property, then I could apply for a business permit through the city, on HOA grounds, without violating personal property clauses. The next week, I filed the paperwork to open Lakeview Rentals and Bait Co., a small, legitimate business offering fishing supplies, paddleboard rentals, and bait sales, all legally registered right on HOA land. Karen thought she'd gotten rid of my fishing shed. What she didn't know was that I was building something much bigger, something that would make her HOA meetings a nightmare. Karen's meltdown. By the time Karen found out about Lakeview Rentals and Bait Co., the grand opening banner was already fluttering in the wind. A few neighbors were renting kayaks, and kids were lining up for sodas from the cooler. My new business looked like a small lakeside attraction. Legal, licensed, and thriving. I was cleaning some reels when I saw her white SUV screech to a stop across the gravel path. She stormed toward me, clipboard in hand, sunglasses flashing like battle armor. "What is this supposed to be?" she barked, pointing at the sign. I smiled calmly. "It's my new business. Got a city permit and everything. You said the shed violated HOA rules, so I went legitimate." She blinked, stunned. "You can't run a business here. This is HOA property." "Exactly," I said, holding up the laminated business license, "which makes it community land. And since the HOA collects fees but doesn't pay taxes on this specific area, the city approved my application to use it commercially." Her jaw dropped. You tricked us." "Not really," I said with a grin. "I just followed the same rules you quoted to me. Article 4C, no personal structures. This is a public service." Neighbors started gathering around, whispering, some even clapping. Old Mr. Jenkins, from down the street, laughed so hard, he had to steady himself on a paddleboard. "Guess the HOA just got outfished by the fishermen." Karen's face turned crimson. She whipped out her phone, calling someone from the board. "We're shutting this down immediately," she hissed. But when the HOA attorney showed up the next day, the expression on his face said it all. He flipped through my permits, sighed, and muttered, "Legally, he's within his rights." I pretended not to gloat, but inside I was practically dancing. The HOA couldn't fine me, couldn't remove me, and couldn't deny my right to operate since the business technically benefited the community. Karen, however, didn't take defeat lightly. That evening, she posted an HOA bulletin titled, "Unauthorized Commercial Activity Under Review." She was plotting something, and I could feel it. As I closed up shop for the night, I watched her pacing her front porch, talking furiously on the phone. Her eyes flicked toward me, full of that same self-righteous fire. I knew that look. It wasn't over. If I'd learned anything about Karen, it was that she never stopped until she got her way. But this time, I wasn't backing down. I had the law, the community, and momentum on my side. The next battle was coming, and I was ready to cast a line first. The inspection trap. The following week, business was booming. Families rented paddleboards, fishermen bought bait, and teenagers took selfies by the Lakeview Rentals sign. I even added a little snack stand. It wasn't just profitable, it was peaceful again. But peace never lasts long when Karen is around. One Tuesday morning, a white city truck rolled up beside the lake. Out stepped two inspectors with clipboards and orange vests. The taller one approached me. Mr. Dawson, we received multiple anonymous complaints about your business, possible code violations and environmental concerns. I didn't even need to ask who filed them. I could see Karen peeking through her blinds from across the street, pretending to water her plants. Of course you did, I muttered. Go ahead, inspect whatever you need. The inspectors combed through everything, the storage boxes, the bait coolers, even the waste bins. I showed them my permit, receipts, and safety certificates. Everything was spotless and in order. When they finished, the lead inspector smiled. You're good, Mr. Dawson. In fact, your setup's cleaner than most small shops downtown. I gave him a firm handshake. Appreciate it. Feel free to stop by anytime. First fishing rentals on me. As the city truck drove away, I caught Karen marching toward me, her heels stabbing into the dirt. They didn't shut you down? She asked, incredulous. Nope, I said, barely hiding my grin. Turns out honesty is good business. She scowled. You can't just turn HOA land into a circus. This community has standards. Then maybe you should stop trying to destroy what people actually enjoy. I said calmly. Look around, Karen. Everyone's happy. You should try it sometime. Her lips tightened. Enjoy it while it lasts. You won't win forever. She stormed off again, but I knew she wasn't done. That night, I found a flyer taped to my front door. HOA emergency meeting. Topic: misuse of shared property by resident Dawson. Attendance mandatory. Karen was pulling the big guns, the board, the rules, the politics. She wanted the whole neighborhood to turn on me. But I had one last card to play. I spent the evening preparing documents, the ones that proved my business not only followed regulations, but actually increased HOA property value and brought in tourism revenue. If Karen wanted a war in front of the board, I'd bring every fact, law, and witness I could find. Because this time I wasn't defending a shed. I was defending my right to stand up to her. And to every power-hungry HOA bully who thought they owned the world. The HOA showdown. The community hall was packed. Folding chairs filled every corner, neighbors whispering, waiting for the fireworks to start. At the front table sat Karen, chin high, blazer ironed, that trademark smirk plastered on her face. Behind her was the HOA board, 5 members who looked both nervous and exhausted. She tapped her microphone. This emergency meeting will address the unauthorized business operation on HOA maintained land by resident Mr. Dawson. I stood up slowly, carrying a neat binder under my arm. Actually, it's Lakeview Rentals and Bait Co., a registered local business. And before we start, I'd like to submit documentation. I handed the papers to the board. Each page was carefully labeled. Permits, tax receipts, city approvals, even a letter from the tourism office, confirming that my shop brought visitors to the lake. Karen cleared her throat sharply. Irrelevant. The HOA rules clearly forbid private usage of shared property. I smiled. You're right, Karen. Private usage. But I'm not using it privately. I'm providing a public service on community land, and the city recognizes it as such. Murmurs rippled through the room. Mr. Jenkins from down the street raised his hand. Karen, since he started that business, I've seen more families come to the lake than ever before. It's good for all of us. Another neighbor chimed in. Yeah, and he's been donating part of his earnings to the lake cleanup fund. Why would we shut that down? Karen's face reddened. He's violating HOA order, she snapped. This sets a dangerous precedent. What's next? Taco trucks in the cul-de-sac. That earned a few laughs. Even the board members couldn't hide their smiles. The HOA attorney, who'd been silent until now, cleared his throat. After reviewing Mr. Dawson's documents and consulting with the city zoning department, I find no violation. The business complies with all municipal laws. In fact, Karen's mouth fell open. You can't be serious. I am, he replied firmly. This matter is closed. The room erupted in applause. Neighbors clapped, some whistled. I just stood there, smiling, watching Karen's power crumble in real time. She gathered her clipboard like a defeated general and stormed out, muttering something about appealing to the state board. But I knew she wouldn't get far. After the meeting, several neighbors stopped by to congratulate me. A few even asked if I'd expand the shop to include boat rentals next season. As the sun dipped behind the lake that evening, I stood on the dock watching the water ripple gold. The old fishing shed was gone. But what replaced it was far greater, a business built from stubbornness, strategy, and a touch of poetic justice. Karen had tried to sink me with rules. I used those same rules to build something she could never control. And as the first fireflies flickered over the water, I couldn't help but grin. Sometimes the best revenge is simply thriving where they said you couldn't.